Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running the Gauntlet. We are at week 6 out of 7 of regular season, so we are almost done and making it to playoffs. I am joined by two wonderful guests, permanent co-host Luyten. Luyten, how you doing?
Hello. Feeling pretty good off of 4-0.
Yeah.
Got a lot of stats, fun stuff.
Okay, so the first week he gives me more than one sentence. It's to gloat. That's crazy. And then joined by our special guest this week, making us for the first time ever a triple camera cast, STL Slayer. STL, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I did not 2-0 this week, but that's okay. Here to talk about some fun League of Legends GCS action.
Pog, I want you to know, no matter what, I'm going to maintain my status as a group therapy believer. Okay, just saying
I appreciate that.
All right, well, diving right in, we're going to kick off with the standings as we always do. This is your friendly reminder that standings are green teams qualify into the top bracket of the double elimination bracket that is playoffs, meaning they get 2 losses before they're eliminated. Yellow teams start in the lower bracket, effectively playing a single elimination playoffs bracket. And your red teams are eliminated. You advance based off your victory points. And then there are tiebreakers as listed in Captain's Chat. Guys, how do you feel about the standings this week? I need y'all to talk about it first because I have something I want to talk about, obviously.
I'm pretty happy with it, pushing towards first. Definitely got a solid chance for it, but
I'm kind of disappointed with where my team's at, but, it's okay. We got 2 more games left, and everything's pretty close in our group, so it can be improved. I'm kind of surprised that PP pulled so far ahead of everyone else in Pool 2, to be honest, but...
I believe it's either 6 or 9. I'm pretty sure it's 9, which would be 6 games of their 20-6 record were FFs. So, they're definitely a pat-statted team. I do think they're very, very strong. I think they're in contention to be first place. But I think this specific gap is because of a lot of stacked FFs that the other team didn't get. But more importantly, guys, V8 single-handedly brought 07 out of elimination. I don't know if y'all saw what happened this weekend, but 07 gets their 2-0, which puts them at the 14 points. And if we 2-0'd SI, it would comfortably put 07 above them, meaning that their match Sunday, their actual last opponent, will decide most likely who advances into finals for Pool 1, which is kind of crazy because 07 is on the biggest rebound probably in GCS history.
I believe even if, disregarding most of the Saturday outcomes, it will be, deciding who gets in. I think the only scenario it doesn't is if 07 2-0's Glue Factory and SI loses 0-2 to whoever they play.
MDFC is their Saturday match, so it is very unlikely.
Okay, so the odds are good.
But even then, isn't it true? Well, no, it isn't. We'll talk about that next week. That's for running the gauntlet next week. But I mean, with no further ado, we can go ahead and kick ourselves off this week with NS versus 07, which was a truly saddening defeat of probably single-handedly the best team that Pool 1 has to offer, that is 07. NS kind of just crushed them through and through. I think it is important to note for both of these games this week for 07, TG Boom, also known as Krizo, was not able to be there because he is on vacation. He'll be coming back this weekend. So 07 was definitely playing well below their best roster. And I think NS did some shady things and they handshook as captains to put Gilly versus Darkle because they both still needed games. And so Hamea pitched to them, let's do brother versus brother for content. And Matthew waxed the floor with his younger brother. It wasn't even close. The bets on stream weren't even does 07 win. It was Gilly have more or less than 8 deaths this game, just for point of reference. But this series was crazy. This series was streamed. Did you guys watch it?
I did watch it, yeah. It looked pretty unwinnable from minute 1 for 07. Especially with the Jinx coming out in game 1. It's
dude,
it's unfortunate, I would say.
This will be the first week that we have a good ADC on. So can you tell me why Jinx is so strong right now that everyone is treating her as pick ban?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just because, wow, I like the subtle Luyten flame too, by the way. Thanks.
Subtle.
Yeah, very subtle.
Anytime.
Yeah, Jinx is basically just a champion that like doesn't have too many terrible lane matchups, and as long as you can get to the point where you have like 2 to 3 items, um, then you can pretty much come back into any game, like just random objective steal with Jinx ult, or like a random reset in a fight if someone overextends, things like that. And she's pretty difficult to counter. Actually, if you want to talk about it, I can talk about the 3 things that you need to beat Jinx.
Dude, hold on. Yes, please. Because only us two, and then O7 and NS will know this tech because no one else is going to listen to this except for the teams involved.
That's fair. Okay, yeah. So the tech to beat Jinx, you need a winning 2v2. So something like a Kog'Maw Lulu can beat Jinx. Caitlyn Lux can beat Jinx. Just something that's winning the 2v2 lane. Karma Ezreal. And then you need something with ranged DPS match to match the Jinx later in the game. So think like an Aurelion Sol or a Xerath, Kog'Maw again. Champions that can match Jinx's auto attack range, basically, with her rockets. And then you also need ranged engage so that you can get onto the Jinx without giving her a reset. So if you're playing Malphite, Malphite's actually not that good into Jinx because, you go in, if Jinx flashes the ult, you die, she gets a reset, her team wins. So you want something like an Ornn or a Leona.
What about
Zac? Zac even works because of his passive. She doesn't get the reset off the passive.
What about like a Set, maybe?
No, Set would not be ranged engage. Set would be more like a Malphite where you are diving onto the Jinx.
Believe it or not, the guy who just runs at you is not ranged.
But my R is kind of like a Malphite ult, and then I have W.
It is, but if you'll notice, I just said Malphite's not ideal into Jinx, right? Because once you're in, you're committed. You can't get out.
Yeah, but Malphite doesn't have W. Set W.
That is true. Malphite doesn't have set W, but he does typically have like 900 armor.
Yeah, I mean I guess.
I don't think Set has that one usually.
Yeah. I mean, Luyten, are you taking notes on this? Because you're a bit of a Jinx merchant as well, good. So maybe.
Well, why would I take notes on how to beat myself then? I think I'm good on that.
I guess that's fair, but then I have to ask the immediate follow-up question, which is, This is a 6-29 game. Jinx goes absolutely crazy. If you look at the second game, you actually see 07 gets the Jinx. Is Kai'Sa Nautilus a winning 2v2 lane? Is that what I'm learning here?
In this instance, yeah, this can be a winning lane. Yeah.
What?
I think the Maokai is a good pick into it generally, but
Yep, they also have they don't really have ranged engage. They do have Nautilus ult, which is like kind of a form of ranged engage, but the Jinx should just be able to stand outside of the ult range. They have Karthus ult, which is really good into Jinx because typically you're not going a lifesteal item early on Jinx, right? So the Karthus ult is going to chunk you at the start of fights. And then if you get hit by any crowd control, Kai'Sa can ult in and one-shot you. Like, that's the champion's whole job. So this is a fairly decent anti-Jinx comp. It's not perfect, I would say, but it's like a 8 out of 10 maybe.
Well, how do you feel about the concept that the best Jinx counter is having a 1-11 and 0-8 mid lane on your team? The Jinx's team.
I mean, yeah, that definitely helps. But I would say the best Jinx counter is to ban her.
Yeah, I get that she's pick ban, and it makes me sad because it's like anytime Jinx is good in the meta, all ADCs look inflated. Luyten, would you agree?
Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
But I mean, this game was absolutely crazy because you get a Karthus that was up what are they called? I've never gotten one. Flame Horizon. Flame Horizon, his opponent jungler as but he Flame Horizoned at like 10 minutes. And then you have, of course, Gilly going 0-8 this series. Actually doing, if you look at this first game, he went 2-9. This series, he effectively did nothing. Gilly, actually, I went back and rewatched it, missed more ultimates, completely missed, mind you, than stunning targets with his ultimate. So specifically meaning ultimates that don't even deal damage more than Cassiopeia ults that manage to stun a target.
That's
pretty good.
That's impressive.
That's crazy, right? That's actually ridiculous. And they thought it was good to shake hands on the brother v brother matchup.
Amen. Content. Yep. It's worth it.
Yeah. Before
they're
we move
still
on,
in position for playoffs.
The one other thing, look at, even though Jinx's whole team is losing, he has the most gold in the game. Look at how close this was. It's still hard to end the game, right? Because they don't really have a form of ranged engage. So just something to keep in mind if you want to be able to beat Jinx and not have to ban it.
Yeah, well, I'll actually get to talk more about that on my series, which I'm excited for. So we can actually move into the next series, which is V8 versus MDFC, where famously, my ADC specifically said that Jinx this week is pick ban. Because against any team, no offense to MDFC, but they are the lowest performing team in Pool 1, Jinx could be a hyper carry. And then they proceeded to do us the favor of permanently banning the Jinx. So we actually didn't have to do it ourselves. This game one, absolutely stunning performance from VLN. Everyone else on my team did phenomenal, but like VLN, we'll say it live, okay, has some of the highest elo difference performances in the game. Keep in mind, I'm a 39% win rate, silver set OTP, going against, in this case, it was a silver player in top lane, but also other diamond players. But phenomenal performance. Wouldn't you guys would agree, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
We take those. But no, it's just, my team kind of went crazy, right? Like ping spam, I think he's one of the best ADCs in the whole tournament. I'm going to say it live in a call with 2 other ADCs.
I mean,
he's top 10
fine.
for sure.
Top 10. Ooh, bold.
Okay, hold on. Explain yourself.
No,
I mean,
he's
the
like,
AD pool is pretty stacked.
I'd say he's probably top 5. Yeah, top 5 comfortably.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd put him exactly. I would have to do an AD tier list, but
Okay, well, let me say it. He's top 2 and he's not 2. Straight up.
Okay.
I'm saying it openly. Ping Spam is the best ADC in the tournament. He's just elo held by the rest of his team.
I think different is probably the best, but
well, you can't say that in cast,
which
he won't watch this part, so we're fine. But if you say that in cast, his head like inflates 1.2. You know what I mean? Every time.
That's like
perfect.
that's
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. Because then whoever plays against them next, you gotta get in their head now. If his ego's inflated, he's more likely to make mistakes.
Okay, I mean, I'm not the one who has to play against him when he's turbo inflated. So I guess if you want it, well, I guess they'll be done.
So.
But yeah, I mean, do y'all have anything you want to say about the series, or I can yap about it from start to finish if you want my VLN recap?
I'm gonna be honest. I did not watch this series because MDFC was involved and it was a loss for them. So unfortunately for them, I just did not watch it this week.
Well,
I'm interested in game 2 here. That's all I'll say.
This might be
what happened in game 2.
My all-time worst performance. I can't. Let's put it gold chart real quick. MDFC had a complete total win this game, and it is actually 100% my fault. My team talked about objectives, setup, warding. They're just wrong. I took Ignite into Renekton and played for the kill level 1. I almost did it. I think I got him down to 9 HP, and then I just didn't reset when he reset, fucked up my whole wave state top, and LeChonkla or Chonkla Jr., whichever one it comes out to be, I forget which one it is, abused me the whole entire game, used the champion to its maximum effectiveness. Like, I do think I put them in the state to abuse me. If you rewatch the level 1, I was in complete control, and then I just monkey brain didn't reset, and it cost me the top lane. Just a huge macro fundamental, and it's just my fault. My team did the best of their abilities, and it honestly wasn't enough to carry my bum ass.
Honestly, impressive. Clean win from them regardless. Like, transferring a lead from top lane isn't the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's true. It looks like a pretty hard game for your team to play into them, to be honest. So I don't think it's that bad of a loss.
Yeah, but you always got to put faith in the Vayne, right? Vayne's meant to, like, if you can get the game to 30 minutes, Vayne's meant to win.
Yeah, if you can get a lot of items, but I think that's kind of fake into Sivir, to be honest. Yeah. Vayne used to be the Sivir counter, but I think now, like, you don't really win lane and you don't really win later versus Sivir in like a team fight. 1v1 obviously, but I think it's a hard game for Vayne to play, to be honest. She's into Amumu and Talia and Renekton. It's like a pretty difficult game.
That is the thing I do want to say, which openly, are you our first Pool 2 guest? No, Riddy was Pool 2.
No, Riddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think MDFC, despite being the weakest team in Pool 1, dog walks the bottom 4 teams of Pool 2. And I think they actually have a surprisingly strong roster. The players specifically I want to call out, which you'll see in Game 1, did really well. didn't get a chance to scale. And then in game 2 is Blue, which is their mid laner. I believe that's Blue. I might be wrong, but I think that is. And then even we'll roll it into game 3. I subbed myself out because of how poorly I was performing. I made that decision. And it is just, we piss stomped through the whole game. And even then, like, Blue is 0-5 this series, so don't look at this one. But they also lost completely around the map, right? The Talia was still useful, and Blue throughout the whole series was kind of a phenomenal player. I definitely think would be worth picking up on a team that isn't just a bunch of friends together. I would rate Blue pretty highly. That's my MDFC recap.
I've been impressed by both Blue and Pipa the entire tourney. They've still managed, just haven't been able to fully pull through in games is all.
Yeah, they look a little bit jailed on this team. I won't lie. Blue is probably like top 5 mid laner, in my opinion. Yeah.
No.
Not much else to say.
This is my hot take, okay? No one, it's my team that's going to watch this in MDFC. They had a bit of a structural issue about how they wanted to play top lane. Not going to get into all of it, but I think if J-Rich and Legangplank could have been on the same page, whichever one compromised, it didn't matter. I think that this team would be in contention for probably the 5th place slot in the pool 1. I think just purely not wanting to play, either having your captain say you play these champs and the top laner doesn't want to play them, or the top laner plays champs that he doesn't want to play. Either way is kind of it's just going to make you play worse, in my opinion.
Making draft harder is never good either.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if they wouldn't have done that, like, they would have made playoffs. I genuinely feel that way.
I feel like it was less of a drafting thing and more of like, not even maybe a resources thing, but their junglers have just kind of not been proactive with making any plays in every game that I've watched them play. And I think that's
just
a pretty big issue.
Lose.
Yeah, so like they're not putting resources top or bot. That's the problem,
Yeah.
They're not setting up anybody to carry. It's just kind of like, if J-Rich can get to 40 minutes and 6 items, maybe we can win, and Blue as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like it's been what's given them the most success. So
openly, before we roll to the next one, I just want to say everyone individually on NDFC, I think would work really, really great on any other team. I do think, no offense intended, of course, they fail to become more than the sum of their parts as a team.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly for what you're saying. They didn't know who to allocate resources to, or they just didn't in some cases. And I think individually trading for these players or picking them up in draft next time instead of just drafting the same team over and over again, each of these players individually will see a lot more success. And I'm excited to see them continue to play if they do. But enough glaze for a team that's eliminated, mathematically one of the 2 teams that are out of the entire tournament. So sorry, MDFC. We can move on to Pool 2, which we get to finally have a representative member of Group Therapy talk about their games. STL, I want you to take it away. Go ahead. Tell me about them.
They gave us Twitch Lulu. So how can they even ever win the game, Actually, no. Low-key, my jungler, they left Viego open for some reason. I don't know what 2 was doing in draft this whole series. They were just kind of briefing
back to look at bans here.
Draft, to be honest. Yeah, so they banned Jinx, which is fine. And then they banned Xin and Hecarim, because I guess they thought it was Seagull Slayer jungle, but I told them right at the start of the game we were subbing in Elias for Kessler. So, I don't know. I guess they just forgot.
Well, okay.
It is what it is.
No offense. I could get why they're confused. You told them you're subbing in the jungler for the mid laner.
That's true, but we had Angel of Paper in already, who's a mid laner.
Yeah, that's your like silver mid laner.
Yeah, and obviously we're not gonna off roll him to jungle, or I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious that we're gonna put the high elo player on their main role and off roll the other guy. So
no, that makes sense. I can see it both ways. I'm fence sitting. You know what I mean? As a TO, not taking a firm stance either which way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a quick game 1, I imagine. Do you remember how fast it went?
First pick there. Did they first pick?
They first picked Cog. They first picked Cog because we left it open. Yep.
Oh, and this is Edmonton.
Edmund could have played
Edmonton,
Twitch as well. So.
Yep. I'm surprised they didn't first pick the Lulu, to be honest. That
Yeah,
champ
I
is
think that
so
makes a lot
OP.
more sense.
I thought well, no, you're saying that the nerfs to her were like placebo nerfs, right? They're
Yeah,
not
they were
real.
fake. They were so fake. I think she's still the best champ in the game, especially in the tournament, sitting like
Yeah.
this.
Dude, you can learn so much about ADC and or in support how to win bot lane if you just watch this full one. You're dropping all these nuggets of knowledge.
Yep.
How do you feel about Edmonto's COG performance this game?
I think it was all right. I don't know. They seemed kind of lost in lane against Twitch Lulu. It was kind of like the classic Twitch thing where you go invisible and they forget that you exist. So
That's
I don't know. It is what it is. I think Edmonto, if you can get into team fights, he's a monster. He's like your traditional 3 items front to back 80 carry, and he does that role very well. But sometimes he has a hard time getting there if you put pressure on him. But overall, he's just a solid 80 carry.
Okay, I just wanted to force some Edmonto glaze out of you. That's all it is. And then we roll into this second game, which is a 2-win. I don't know if this is a graphical glitch. Just real quick to explain it. Did you guys not ban, or did World Orders not ban in their last 2 bans?
No. So we did online drafting, and then we started the game because they said they were ready, and their top laner wasn't there to lock in the bans for the first 2 bans, so they just didn't.
So
do
you remember what these 2 bans were?
Just it was reference. Jinx and Twitch.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. It seems I'm noticing this as a trend. I don't know if y'all have noticed it, but it seems like some teams, and it's consistently the same teams over and over again. 2 is one of them. I'm not going to name the rest. Like load into game 1 and ban horrifically. Like they just don't even know who their opponent is. Lose game 1, and then they actually start banning appropriate champions the second. It's like they needed the brain reset. And it looks like that's what actually happened here as well.
A lack of scouting from a lot of teams, but there's also, I think there's the other way where people start over-indexing into losing their first game and ban horrifically in a different way the next game.
Yeah.
By just kind of banning champs from the first game.
Yeah, and also, it doesn't tell you this in the player chart this game, because we can't see the names, but Elias was not in this game. It was Seagull Slayer 7 in jungle, and they banned Viego
against
us. So
that is
just another slight blunder, but it is what it is.
And you let Seagull Slayer 7 pick Pantheon Jungler instead of Hecarim?
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Did 2 pay you to lose this series? That guy can play one champion.
No. I'll be honest, Hecarim does not look playable in this draft. Like Hecarim into Lulu, can you imagine?
Yeah, I'm not good enough at the game to know that kind of stuff. Is just the honest answer.
It's just
see one trick, pick one trick.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, kind of. But like, look at his Pantheon build. He's so tanky here. He's got like 5k HP. He never dies.
He died 11 times.
A real frontliner.
Yeah, this is a 50-minute game.
Yeah, I mean, he was running it down.
Oh, is this the 50-minute game?
No, there's another one.
This is... No, I think this is
a 51-minute game.
Oh, maybe. This is the game with the... like 3 of the highest.
This is a 91 kill game.
Damage totals.
Okay,
yeah,
maybe this is that game then. Yeah.
If you look at the damage from Cog and Karthus and Vayne, I think they're like 1, 2, and 8 on the top 10 damage per game. It's all from this game.
That's actually ridiculous, and it looks. I would love to actually rewatch this series because it looks like it was scrappy. Like pretty much every player, the top laners are kind of out of it this game. But aside from that, like it was a shootout. It was a bloodbath this game.
Yeah, I won't lie. Kessler, like almost solo saved this game, and then the rest of our team kind of just was not up to giving him enough help to win the game.
Do you have Dumpling in this series?
No, Dumpling was not here. It was Adam X support.
Okay, good to know. Is this your Penta series? Is that what am I stealing your thunder?
I got a Penta on Vayne this game. At our Nexus, they destroyed our Nexus towers and they were hitting our Nexus, and I got a Penta kill right there to save the game.
Yeah. You know that there were 3 pentakills on the Saturday games this week. Like we were playing for top 5 this week.
I watched all of them. The Akali one was pretty crazy. I won't lie. Mine and who was the other? It was your 80 carry, ping spam. Ours were like, they were okay. You know, they were pentakills, so it's kind of hype, but they weren't like super impressive. The Akali one was, for Proud and Shroud, was quite good.
I mean, you let the one tricks get their one tricks. You know what I mean? Maybe we
Yep.
should be picking the heck room, but then we go into this. Oh wait, what is this?
Yeah,
Is
so this one, it was a it had
Yeah.
we didn't have a tournament code for the remake. Adamix's client crashed while we were loading into the game, so he couldn't like change his runes or sums. So he was on Flash TP Thresh with like Electrocute or something.
Oh man.
So
That's
it was
crazy because
just-
it renders them here as Glacial Augment Exhaust.
Well,
Form.
Yeah, no, so
they
we-
remade the game.
Yeah, we asked them to remake the game. That's why it didn't import with a tournament code.
Oh.
Yeah, because we used the tournament code for the game that had to be remade, and we didn't have another one.
And Monto drops a 20-1 game here.
Yep.
This
It
is
sure does.
Did he get his team fights? Is that what happened?
No, not really. We were just kind of running into him and dying. It was like a loss of focus, kinda, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't
We
call
gave our-
Paris a team fight champ anyways.
Yeah. We gave our top laner a matchup that he didn't necessarily want. So we could call this game my bad
What
for
are these-
drafting poorly, but
What are these numbers?
That one is the per game. The bottom right is the series.
And this is yellow, meaning 2 had the higher
2
point
had
roster.
58. Yes, lower point.
Or
typically.
58 lower point. Okay, that's
yeah,
that makes
they
more
had the better
sense.
roster throughout the course of the series. They had the better roster.
Dude, we have a 20-1 Varus, and we're not going to get a clip out that game. So that's crazy to me.
There were not
If you
there were
noticed.
not any clips. It was just like, yeah, I think the most he got was a triple kill, and none of them were like anything crazy. He was just picking up all the kills because he did the most damage.
That makes me so sad. Shout out Edmontosaurus. Hope he's doing well. How do you?
So
So
he's still number 1 in DPM, so I think he's doing great.
yeah, I think he's happy with his performance so far. Crazy series for 2 to sneak out, even with the elo discrepancy. I feel like.
Yeah, we
'Cause-
shouldn't have lost this one.
It was a
but,
close
yeah,
series.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, well, but then from here we can roll it into, oh my gosh, there we go, SMA versus Leg, which I say this every week. I assign a game every week. This is the biggest upset, I think, just flat out. Leg is just almost assuredly eliminated. I think it's a 1.5% chance they advance.
Yes,
And
this
Summit Admins is like pretty much locked for second seed. And it's not even like roster gap, right? Like if anything, Leg is roster gapped this series.
Yeah, Summit
wouldn't
has a
say
better roster, I
gaps.
believe, for
But
the whole series.
Because I'm pretty sure that this is like their highest or their lowest point roster minus ADC for Summit Admins. I think Stran is lower point than Isolation.
I think so.
actually,
yeah.
you might be right.
No. Gargumba didn't play this series.
Oh,
okay.
the
Yeah,
God
that's what it
King of
was.
top lane, the arguable best top laner in the whole tournament, Guard Goomba. Maybe I can see, but Leg doesn't have
Yeah,
Nico.
that
of
Cho'Gath
course,
is in
right?
fact.
Yeah, Leg doesn't have Nico. I would say missing Nico is probably bigger than missing Gargumba. Like comparatively, for the strength of these teams, you know,
I mean,
Nico's
not
one
without
of
a
the
quality
2 win
performance.
conditions.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's what I was gonna say. Is it looks like maybe
Nico
Leg
needs
should have been benching Nico sooner.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's also crazy because I don't feel like Summit Admin's draft is necessarily weak. I think top lane your Cho'Gath's going to get perma abused, which it looks like the Gnar did perma abuse them. But isn't everything else here playable for Summit Admins?
I think the bot lane matchup is pretty good for Leg, but other than
Yeah.
that, I mean, the game's playable. Yeah, it's winnable.
Like your only lane with any prio is mid, and even then, I don't think it's amazing necessarily. So it's kind of just a hard game to play.
Yeah, it was kind of an individual player gap, I would say, honestly. So they put Riddy top this game, Summit Admins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so their best player was on the Cho'Gath top lane, and I mean, Riddy's good, but you know, top tower's not going to get rolled by him. So, and then Proud and Shroud got his one trick, and he just kind of dog walked Tubby. And the bot lanes like went pretty much even, slightly winning for Leg's bot lane, but it was just the individual gap this game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I wonder to what extent Riddy has control over his team to dictate what role he goes to. Because I think you would imagine, which maybe Summon Admins was like, it doesn't matter if we lose this series to 0-2 or anything for our chances. If anything, it's like a bone for Leg, which they continue to just absolutely crush through. I assume Riddy goes back top for summon admins again.
No, this is
No, he was
the
jungle this game.
What? He was, and they lost still?
Yeah, so this game was Riddy got ahead early a little bit. He got like 2 kills. He was like 2-0 at the start of the game. But every lane lost like super hard.
Dude.
And then it got to like 15 minutes and top tower was just ulting the Scion into everybody on SMA and one-shotting them, and the rest is history.
I'm going to say this openly. STL, I'm sorry ahead of time. Top Tower's a great guy. I love him as a guy. Historically, in these tournaments that we've ran, he has never performed as well as he has throughout this whole tournament. And I've seen him performing, like, this is a set game. He's performed on Darius outside of this. Like, he doesn't even need the Kled right now. I don't know if it's because
I think Kled has been his worst performing champ at this point, actually.
Yeah, is it because he got put on a team that's perma losing and he just had to step up? Why is he suddenly awoken?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he just wants to like prove that he can 1v9 some games. I don't know. But he has been, out of his mind this tournament. I think it's because I keep calling him washed, like to his face, and he needs to like prove, that he's not washed anymore. But he's been putting up numbers for this team, and I think he was the 3rd highest rated top laner at like 18 points. So the top lane pool was like relatively weak-ish for this tournament, but he's someone to look out for the next tournament.
Yeah, openly.
As to pick up as your top laner, yeah.
If I think if Top Tower can continue to play like this, like it isn't just a fluke tournament for some reason, I would hazard to put him top 3 in contention for any of the spots top laners in all of GCS. He has played ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm proud to see it. Any glaze for the guy, Luyten? Any glaze at all for a top laner?
I mean, I've been saying it before. I think he's been playing really well despite his team. And maybe part of it is being on a bad team helps you stand out a little bit because your teammates aren't overshadowing you. But I think he's playing better no matter how you look at it.
He has been hitting me a lot of set clips the whole tournament.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of set period, honestly.
Well,
especially this week. It's surprising.
I'm getting live lore fact leak. Okay. My Reddit account actually got deleted. Because I spammed so many Reddits that it flagged me as a bot. But in the last round before my account got banned, the only Reddit that I had a positive, champion Reddit, I had a positive karma stat on, meaning they didn't just delete all my posts because I got hate rated, was r/setmains. They supported me since day one, and I think that's why we have so many phenomenal set players.
Definitely could consider it.
That's, you know. Just a little bit of a lore fact for you. But now we can move on to a series I wish was a 2-0 the opposite way. WoW versus Glue Factory. Luyten, how do you feel about how these games went?
I didn't really watch this one too much, honestly.
Huh?
I don't remember what I was doing, but I mean, my team kind of just smurfed it.
You don't
it started.
Rep your own team?
Okay, I didn't watch it live. I watched it later. I was out doing something. It started off pretty rough. The Hecarim and Aatrox got pretty strong and pretty fed, honestly. But I think Hypercat was sick or something. Like, they were not having a good game, just constantly getting picked off. The bot lane didn't do very well, and it just slowly became very heavily glue favored. Glue favored.
That's
glue flavored.
Glue flavored is good. We gotta.
It kind of just became impossible to team fight, especially with Cloud Soul. But even then, they still had good fights. WoW got Elder at one point, but they responded by taking Baron while they took Elder, which I think was a really good macro call. I don't know who made it, but somebody did.
This game was really interesting when I watched it back. I noticed that, and this is actually something we'll see later, but this made me reconsider my Glue Factory positioning, like where I rated them. They, in this series, and actually in the next one too, they set up every single objective with like precise intention. Like, it looked like somebody on the team was keeping in mind the objective timers for every dragon, every baron, everything like that. And they were like there early. They had the wards set up, and they were ready to go for every single objective. I don't know who it is on the team, but just a little Glue Factory glaze.
It's probably their challenger support, if I had to
Could be.
imagine.
Honestly, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I think almost everybody kind of pipes in a good bit. I can't say with that roster. I don't know how much Button really comes and whatnot, but Naki is really vocal as well. Tricycle a good bit, but I definitely give most credit to Panda and Naki. They've been doing really good on the macro end for sure.
I do.
Yeah, also,
or go ahead, STL. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. From the last game, the Blitzcrank pick was like very crazy. He was running around the map 1v9ing the early game, and that is something to keep in mind. Like if a player is willing to pick Blitzcrank into these good Enchanter matchups where Blitzcrank is strong later in the game, that's very scary. That's something the teams definitely need to watch out for. He played the
team fight super well as well. Like there's a couple where he just kind of walked up and like everybody's worried about the hook. They're not thinking about him just running up and eating you.
Right.
And it was just really well played.
I
also think we won this game because Naki, his mouse died level 1, and he aura checked by standing in front of Happier Cat. So that was big.
That's actually crazy. I will actually go on record as well as we get into the second game to look at is that I do think that Glue Factory is a phenomenal team. I even think it's a phenomenal team when Luyten is playing, arguably stronger.
Crazy.
And not to glaze them super hard, but anytime Pool 1 versus Pool 2 debates come up, unironically, the first team in my mind is actually Glue Factory, even over Nova Chrysalis, because I think everyone gives them their flowers. But I openly think Glue Factory could beat every team in Pool 2 as well. Like, not even seed for seed, just objectively match for match, especially playing their strongest roster. And it pains me to like see how successful that this team can be with or without Luyten. That's the thing. It's like it feels like they're a cohesive unit no matter what they plug in. And if MDFC is a team that fails to be more than the sum of its parts, Glue Factory is a team that is objectively 2 to 3 times as strong the sum of its parts.
I mean, if you're picking me, you got to be cooking somewhere to be a good team.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Maybe the mod should look into a person who jumped, I don't know, 400 LP from his peak ever before.
I believe
700 LP from his peak, but enough glaze for them. People are going to tell me I have to look into it. This series looks like it's a complete stomp in the way back. I'm openly happy to see an Aatrox lose.
A lot cleaner from our end. It was kind of just Teemo and Jace taking over the game, and it is worth noting that this Teemo is actually Pandemonium, who was the support last game, and was our first role swap pretty much, I think. So definitely something we will be seeing more of, I think. Surprisingly, we got this Teemo 3 games in a row.
I think it's, no one ever thinks about Teemo support, especially when it's, I don't necessarily think that this is a comp that's countered by Teemo support. I think most of these champions
Teemo
are
support.
Wait, it's Teemo Jungle?
No, Teemo Jungle. Yeah.
That's why it's the role swap. I thought you just missped.
No. Never
mind. I take it all back. I will kill you if your team plays Teemo Jungle into me openly. I watched this game live out of this series. I caught it late because I was handling stuff for my own team in the game. This Jace, oh my god, seeing Naki play an 80 mid laner, and he played it primarily as melee Jace. This guy is really good at the Jace pick, spacing in and out with it, abusing the transformations. I did not know he could play Jace, and I saw this, and I think if I didn't know who he was, I would have thought that was his main champion. He played this game beautifully.
You talked about top tower earlier. I think this exact same thing kind of goes for Naki with this season by far being his best. I think maybe in the past he was more of a solo queue player. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's become a really good comp team player at this point. And
I think,
like I said, his macro is really good. His champ pool's gotten pretty good. We haven't even got his Kiana like in any but one game. So he's done really well.
Yeah, I think in previous tournaments he definitely played very well. But his teams just weren't able to like pull him through, and he kind of got overlooked, I guess. But I think he may be the best performing mid laner this tournament. Even, I'm going to say it, even above Gumby.
Oof.
who has played not that many mid lane games. He's been off-rolling a lot. So
Yeah, he's been
That's
off-roll in every role pretty much is what I've learned.
okay. We glazed GF way too much, man. That's crazy. After everything we say, we're gonna say they have the best performing mid lane.
Hey, at least we're mainly glazing Naki, you know.
I think they do, yeah.
We just got to roll into the next series. I'm sorry, I'm cutting off the GF glaze. We also got to pick up the pace.
Man.
I'm enjoying talking to you guys. I do this every time about at the 40-minute mark. I'm like, we're not done with the Saturday games, so we're gonna go much quicker through these. SI versus AWB. Very, very happy to see AWB can function when it isn't just their full roster. Sad to see that it was taken out on SI, because anytime WWPQ does good in the jungle, he immediately posts jungle diff, even though KTN still performed crazy. Darius jungle was locked this game, by the way. I don't know if y'all see this.
Yeah.
And it was kind of phenomenal. Not his best Darius jungle game. I think he played it again.
He played it against us and did really well as well.
Yeah. But absolutely cracked throughout this whole game. It was way closer than Woof would want you to think. It's just the only thing that I can say about it.
I mean, the Zeri damage, even considering for beefcakes on the other team, is kind of insane, and the fact that it's probably needed here, also pretty crazy.
Yeah, Alun is kind of a freak, but I think everyone knows that.
Is that 69k damage it was?
Yeah, it was 69K.
28 minutes?
Wow, 28 minutes? That is... Yeah, that's more than 2,000 damage a minute.
Surely that can't be right.
ADC's figured that out. Y'all's roles is so inflated, bro. Y'all get to just spam auto attacks against my Chad tank players, Chad bruiser players with high HP.
I mean, they picked 4 tanks, you know?
Yeah,
so it's kind of...
I don't see how they ever kill Zeri here, honestly.
I'll be honest, though. This isn't like a difficult Zeri game. It's not like crazy that he put up that number or anything. Obviously, I'm sure he played it well, but it's, you know.
Yeah, would you argue that this is like bordering on an ideal game for Zeri?
There's worse picks into Zeri than Kai'Sa, but other than that, yeah, it's a very good game for her. They have a really hard time getting onto her without Darius doesn't even have flash, so Galio flash taunt is like how you're getting on Zeri this game, basically. So,
and I mean they just kind of eat them alive, and then when you go into this second game, I don't personally, after looking into this series, I don't think SI was really adaptive for the match at all. I think that they were just stuck in their bans, which is probably fine for how they ended up playing, because it's not necessarily their worst losses, despite it being a 2-0. But they kept this pretty much the same bans. I think it even is the same bans, or the first 2 at least. And they just get steamrolled. It's just player gap. It's honestly, if you keep the same bans and you just lose back to back, you just lost in effectively all 5 roles. And I do have to give Woof flowers that he did do well for his team. But it's not... Or go ahead.
A little surprising on the Zyra jungle. Last time I saw it was... that was Elise, actually. But yeah, I don't really consider him a Zyra jungle player at all. So definitely good to see. Oh, wait. That is him, right?
Yeah. This is Woof for both these series. We have to give him glaze, but he glazes himself already, so that's all he gets from us.
Don't need too much.
Do ban Promex Tom Kinch though, straight up ban it.
I mean, it was picked the other game by the other.
He's stolen away because.
But they took out Tico Fighter, yeah. They changed their top laner.
I think Destroy XXL has to play all the remaining series, so I think he's in here. But it's just, I think you should be banning TK over. So what did they ban?
That one is wrong then, but
the Jarvan. I no offense.
Yeah.
Why are we banning Woof Prescue's Jarvan the 4th?
That is kind of crazy.
It's useless ban, honestly.
No offense. Okay, but to be honest, Jarvan is a no skill champ, and you're versus 2 bot laners who can't get out of the Jarvan ult. So
he's a no skill champ, but Woof is a negative skill jungler. I don't know if you considered that.
You don't even have to do. All you have to do is press R. You don't even have to EQ. You know, I'm sure Woof can manage that.
Yeah, he would mess up the EQ, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. I honestly believe that he would. I think
saw TV messed it up.
All right, well, you have to glaze him this week. He specifically wants. He told me if his Pookie doesn't glaze him this week, really well. It's over.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get to it as we then take this just a 2-0 stomp, to get us through quicker. into MBR versus FF. Was this? No, this was a
No.
full game. This was when they played. Like
This is like a 50-point PV diff, I think.
they're wait they didn't
50
play
points per game, yeah.
Tom 2 of this game, right? I'm not mistaken. There's no Tom 2 of this game. No,
No,
this is his action game.
Action, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, real quick, just to pause running the gauntlet. Tom Tua, if you are listening to this, there is no value in making a cornerstone of your personality being Iron 4. Take pride in yourself, regret the fact that you are that bad, and earnestly lock in. I have faith in you. I will match STL's 50 if you make it to silver, 100 if you make it to gold this season. Openly, I'll match it. That's all. That's what I had to say. That's for the debate that we were having in chat today. It's crazy he goes 5-3-5 on Action, though. What is this? What are we watching?
Yeah,
How does this
I
happen?
don't know. I mean, I have nothing to say. I didn't even watch the game. I was like, when I was looking through it, I was like, oh, they let him pick Action. That is unbelievable. But it worked, so,
Luyten might know a bit more about this than me, but I'm going to also cut us to the second game here where it's... I think FF is just showing up because they have to show up.
From my understanding,
Yeah.
I think they're kind of just playing to have fun at this point. I don't think they're thinking about draft that much. I think they're just picking what they think is fun.
Yeah.
It's far from their best.
They look pretty checked out.
And they're getting absolutely eaten because of it. Like, this game is Gumby Jungle on Kazakhs. I've watched that guy sprint it on stream playing Kazakhs and Rengar in jungle, and you would think he's the second coming of Owner in this game, because he just pops everyone. And it's disappointing to see Pony as a 1-in-11 Lux when that is notoriously the free Pony pick, because she performs out of her mind, but she just doesn't, right?
Yeah. I think Pony is probably the most jailed player ever in one of these tournaments on this team.
Probably.
So it's unfortunate,
I think the competition might be Pony from another season. So
Yeah. Unironically, Pony is historically the most jailed player of all time. Pony, if you're listening, no offense on the 1-in-11. I do expect better out of you, but I get it. FF losing is like not much that you can say, right? I think their only chance of for sure winning this is the double Iron roster. But MBR just doesn't have to play it anymore.
Yeah.
And then that takes us into our last Saturday game, which is PP versus Lacuna Matata, which is just Lacuna believes that Lacuna Matata is in contention, or could have been in contention for first place, definitely second seed in his tournament. And when you get smacked as hard as this, even with the PV diffs, it's kind of hard to believe that, because you're not guaranteed to have your best players every day in finals just because schedule gaps might come up. Like, you are still the making of your full team, even if those players are less likely to play. And PP just eats them alive. Like, you would have thought based on this performance, Lacuna Matata was in the lower part of their pool, and they are currently seed number 3 in contention for seed number 2. And 1-9 on the Gwyn. Lacuna is... I believe this is a Lacuna series, not a Nodal series, right?
Yes.
If I remember
it was
the
Lacuna.
screenshots right. That's a Diamond 2 level jungler, by the way, and is going 1-9. I've played Gwyn jungle before, believe it or not, and put up better performances than this.
Well, to be fair, the other jungler is also currently Diamond 2. Or 3 or 4 or something like that. So, it's...
We
we can call it an even jungle matchup.
Wait, but if they're both meant to be
Skill-wise.
Diamond 2 and he goes 1-9.
Which one isn't Diamond 2?
Yeah. And isn't Gwyn meant to beat
What you're
Skarner?
saying. Yeah, this
I wouldn't say early game. Skarner damage
true.
is pretty high, but
this game was a little bit of a... Actually, I mean, Skarner was kind of 1v9 this game. Like, early game, the Caitlyn Mel had pushed bot lane. Everything else was kind of even. Peter Griefer was slightly losing. He got ganked a lot too. But the Skarner was like, I think he was like 5-0 at one point. He was just like solo carrying the first 15 minutes of this game until his Mel, Caitlyn, Victor came online.
Yeah.
82% KP is pretty solid.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about like surprises in the draft, I do think Akatsuki Grape in the server is number 1 or number 2 biggest surprises for draft. He really did lock in. I don't know if this was his first tournament or like the first one that he really, really cared about, but he has improved drastically as a player, opening up his performance, not just on Yi, like he was a Yi OTP first week, but abusing other champions, regardless of how you feel about Skarner. But to gain that skill to play it at his level, it's kind of ridiculous, openly. I think he's really, really shining. And then you can even see this series, not as good for him. Or wait, no. For some reason, I thought he ended up like 7-5.
No, I mean, this was the same thing. Actually, this game was kind of funny. Levi and Different kind of got gapped early game by Balmer and Chewy Light. Like they were winning the early game consistently in these like 2v2, the bot lane 2v2s, and Amumu had to come clean it up for them. So this was a very surprising game for me to watch from Different and Levi. They can bleed, you know?
Yeah, my favorite fact is to recount that Different and Levi together lost bot lane in their first playoff game, or first game against Legend of the Leg. It was a 2-1 series, though. One, they absolutely stomped. One, they got absolutely flattened the whole game. That's the game Leg actually managed to win.
Is that like a double plat bot lane, or was that...
I believe so. I think it's double Emerald bot lane. I think it was a ridiculously high elo discrepancy. And then the game 3, which is important, was them effectively doing nothing, and then their team winning the game, so they got a bunch of gold and were absolutely monstrous, but they did not win their advantages. That bot lane can bleed. They are not on paper. No offense, I love Different so fucking much. I don't think they're performing at the level that I think their ranks would make you expect. And I don't know if that's just because they're not locked in, because it's not playoffs, or maybe they just check out after they pub stomp somebody or something like that. But
actually, something I just noticed is Different has cleansed this game, where Ezreal has barrier. So I think that they fought like either level 1 or level 2, and like pretty much everyone died bot lane. That actually does make quite the difference, in my opinion, is that having the cleanse on Kalista. That's like a cleanse. I mean, he needs it this game, I think, but it's something I just noticed that being down a combat sum, like a heal or a barrier or an exhaust like this, definitely makes the 2v2 more difficult. So I mean, I'll give them a little bit of leeway, but they still, I don't think, should be losing this bot lane.
I'm also gonna say it live on broadcast. Peter Griefer played this fucking phenomenally. I rewatched this whole game because he asked me to. This Renekton gets used and abused permanently. He played the top laner's nightmare in this series. You're against your opponent laner in a matchup that isn't necessarily fun to play. Jax is so annoying because he just Counter-Strike jumps away. In a matchup, he can be very non-committal. Permanently on gank repeat. I think in the first 10 minutes, he gets lane ganked 5 times by the jungler. Does very, very good minimizing giving up resources. He does take a few losses, not like he's literally the best, can't glaze him too hard, but then rebounds throughout the entirety of the game, doesn't give up too much, so the ganks end up worthless, and then is just objectively more useful than the opponent top laner for the whole series. I did rewatch it, Peter. You played it great. That's just for him to know that I'm an honest caster where I can be. You know what I mean?
That is all true. Everything you just said is true. But can you go back to the first game for 1 second?
We can. He is.
So he has Frozen Heart on Renekton this game. That champion does not have mana. So what Peter Griefer told me was that he had to buy it because of an upcoming team fight. He had to be as strong as he could be. So I went back and looked at the VOD, and he was sitting on a Sapphire Crystal for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Just the Sapphire Crystal and Cloth Armor. So he's lying for fun. That's okay. This should have been a Randuin's. You should be boiled alive for this.
I can't deny that.
Frozen Heart. But well played. You know, you came back the next game and played very well. So.
And let me also go on record after all the glaze to say this. I do not think I am good as Peter Griefer. Openly, he is a much better player than me. He is a constant reminder that it is achievable for me to hit Masters because this guy has done it before. And that's my open take about them.
Is that also like he's your Lacuna of Masters essentially?
Yeah, basically. He's hit it. He is actually the rank he claims to be, unlike Lacuna.
Okay.
But let's just say I know a Masters top laner that I would bet my entire life savings on being able to beat him 10 out of 10 times, and that guy just hit Masters for the first time.
Oh, but then he'd lose it on purpose. So don't get too excited there.
Yeah, I can't deny that. But we can roll into the Sunday games. You know what? We'll just have a longer episode this week. If Luyten can have his 2.5-hour episode, sure, why not?
Sure, why not?
We get 07 versus MDFC, which I'm no surprise to me. 07 performs better against MDFC than I did, and takes it in just a clean 2-0. It is a battle of the piss teams again. The colors are way too similar. But honestly, I won't lie to you. I thought there was a possibility they lost this series because they didn't have Boom, and they just didn't. It was just a pub stomp across the entirety of the map. 07 is back, baby. Belief never fails. That's my commentary.
I mean, if Wasal is in this game instead of Eureka, then maybe it's losable. Still have yet to see him play, but we'll see next week, hopefully.
Yeah,
otherwise they're DQ'd.
At his 200 ping.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think the 200 ping will be playable because
he did say in a custom that it was a lot better than he expected. So it's definitely doable.
When I played in the Deep South, Mobile, Alabama, I played at 155 ping. I did not have less than 100 ping until I moved to college. And so I don't think it's that bad.
Was that before this? What season was that? Because that might have been when the servers were in California.
In LA, yeah.
That was 2020. It was when Set released.
Okay, no. So it was...
Okay, wow. That's impressive then.
Yeah. I will keep in mind, I was perma bronze that whole season, but I didn't think it was that bad either. I actually don't think ping's that big of a deal until you're either in Challenger or you're like breaking over 500.
I think it matters within reason. Like it's like the first 40, 50 that matter, and then the rest after that it's not as significant.
I think it's more of a muscle memory thing. Because for me, before I went to college, I had like 20 ping at my house, and I went to college and had 40, and it was noticeably harder. I had to adjust quite a bit, and then I came back home, and now I have 8 ping because we got fiber. So,
dude, you're able to see into the future.
Kind of, yeah. I can see the future. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, if I had 8 ping, I would be Challenger.
Yeah, I know when the ping went from 120 to 50-ish from the LA move, it was definitely significant, but you get used to it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can get used to it.
And then back to the analysis of this game. You can see at game 1. I challenge you to look at MDFC's draft, okay? And then we're going to jump to game 2, which is still 07 win. Look at MDFC's draft here. Much better this second game, but I think both games, they just don't know what they want to do at any stage or how they want to fight or how they want to play. The second game, like I said, much more cohesive, but if you watched how they played this out, they did not play this game like they were fully committing to this like traditional front to back scale late into the game. They just had really strong picks. Like the Veins scaled very, very well, and Jay Rich is a good player. But the teams themselves, they didn't team fight well at all. It was a solo queue game for MDFC, and they just lost it to a team that was playing as a team. Even if their picks are worse, or even if you have losing lanes, they just played as 5 confident players on 07 together as a team. And MDFC, despite all knowing each other, just can't do that, I don't think.
I think that's where 07 is pretty good. I think they have a solid identity of just wanting to constantly fight you, wanting to just always kind of be a 5-man stack a lot of the time, it seems.
Yeah.
I think they're cohesive in a way that MDFC is not. Yeah,
and momentary MDFC glaze. I believe this is the Rose support game. I'll have to double check. The name's not being here. Always make me. It's not
LKMT,
Rose.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, that makes sense. I'm just confusing the players by their Discord name. And in both the supports, I will still glaze Rose, but Alvania here, their supports are kind of cracked as well. I think they're great pickups, especially PV to performance for both of them. if you're ever needing to consider their performance for supports. They've done very, very well.
One might argue that by a few too many controllers, but that's okay.
I would say, respectfully, I necessarily agree with that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, non-confrontational STL. Not gonna say anything more. You don't want to enlighten it in any way.
I mean, no, really nothing to say. They don't. A little bit lost in lane is what I will say, which is expected, but.
Well, that's why you got to factor in the PV to performance. You know, I'm not saying they're better than dump lane.
I think they performed at below their PV for most of the games. Yeah.
Well, let me just roll out of the glaze then. I'm not going to give any more GF glaze at all this series. We have GF versus NS, which is Pool 1, Seed 1 versus Pool 1, Seed 2. And Seed 2 managed to clutch the 2-0, spoiler alert for the total series. I am going to refrain from saying anything about this series. It's up to YouTube because I don't want to say anything more positive about Glue Factory than I already have.
Okay. I can start. I mean, first game looks pretty obvious, right? They got Jinx, and there is nothing on the other team to deal with it. Nothing at all. I mean, I guess you have Nasus attack speed slow, but that's pretty fake into Jinx. Yeah. And it's looks like they picked a bully lane, and they weren't able to bully the Jinx Sona. So how can win? And yeah, I mean, they put their challenger player in jungle this game, and I won't lie, he kind of gapped Billy this series. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think realistically this game, they pushed us under tower, and then they just didn't do anything with it. I left lane with like a 5 CS, not lead, but behind 5 CS. They didn't try to dive us once with Hui or Pantheon. It was just kind of a AFK lane. And you have to realize that at some point, you're the team with the agency. You need to do something with it. Mm-hmm. And I think they didn't recognize that. We just kind of slowly scaled, and then another great Jace performance from Naki. And the Sona was also disgusting in team fights. Like, once you get out of lane with it, oh my god.
That Sona is... If you can get Sona to 3 items, I think she might be the strongest champion in the game. Not even support. It's so insane what you can do on that champion.
That's
and also
crazy.
This game ended with a disgusting set clip as well. So
yes. I do love to see.
We'll see if that one shows up elsewhere.
Momentary Glaze Drysicle, phenomenal guy. By the way, this is the Drysicle game, right? I'm not not having the names makes me very confused.
Drysicle has played every single game.
He is the best. I think he's your only top laner, right? If you haven't, please check out Drysicle on Twitch. He finally, for the first time, posted a self-promo link, and I went and sat in it. I think I was there for an hour and a half, somewhere in there, hour 15, hour and a half. Actually, a very entertaining guy. Plays the game very, very well. Great start, and then it's just good personality for the streams. Drysicle, keep it up, man. I will definitely be coming to tune back in.
He's also like Grandmaster in Marvel Rivals and like Immortal in Valorant, so he's pretty good at games.
I could probably cook him in the Valorant, but anyway, this game that you guys have here. 8-33, that's real?
Yeah, this
game was just
brutal. So level 1, we figured they were pretty tilted or mad at how we play, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So we figured with the Nautilus they're probably going to invade, even though I think comp wise it's a horrible invade. So we just 5-stacked on a bush, and I got an instant triple level 1. I don't think I got the triple, but we got 3 kills to 1.
It was spread out, yeah, but it was 3 kills to 1. It was
like from that, I'm sure they're gonna be mega tilted. Like, why are we there in the first place? And we also got 3 kills. You know, with that comp, it was too big of a lead instantly.
Yeah, somehow you guys got Jinx Lulu again, which is crazy. Were you blue side both games?
We were red side game 1, I believe. This is blue side.
Okay, so you got Jinx both games, and you got Lulu 1 game.
Yeah, they banned Lulu game
pretty
1.
Unbelievable. But
round 2, I think.
Yeah, I mean, don't give over Jinx and Lulu.
Especially if
pick one or the other or counter it.
If the ADC on the enemy team is Luyten, don't give up Jinx.
Yeah, that's true. He's a Jinx merchant. It's the only champion he can play.
You take Luyten from like mid diamond ADC to low emerald ADC banning Jinx. Okay, like can't stress you this enough.
Pick it,
or you can pick it.
You can pick it.
Like,
or you could pick Twitch into it. It's a pretty good.
No, don't give Luyten Jinx. Don't even think you can counter it. He's ridiculously insane at Jinx. Could probably be really, really high if he could lock in Jinx exclusively. The moment he's on any other champion, it's like pew pew. Like we're talking like Luyten off Jinx is like VL Inlow level ADC. If he's not duo queuing, okay. Also,
it's kind of a crazy take.
If he locks the Aphelios, I think you could load VLN set in lane against him with the Aphelios, and I'd win.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It is crazy that y'all take the 2-1 against, or 2-0, excuse me, against Pool 1, Seed 1.
I mean, it wasn't their best roster, and it was ours. And I don't know if they were expecting our Teemo jungle. I mean, they definitely should have the second game.
Well,
it's probably 3 times in a row now.
But 90% of NS's fighting power is Billy.
Yep.
And so if he's in the
then
game,
why does he have the most deaths?
I don't know about that. I'm not saying he's necessarily that good. I'm just saying
I think 90%
carries
of powers in Darkle. He's the GOAT. What can I say?
Okay. Ban that gold player's Akali then, if you believe he's the GOAT.
We actually did.
Wait, hold on. Back it up.
We knew his team would jail him.
Back it up. I'm not seeing an Akali ban.
Yeah, no, we just banned that banana instead.
Fair. But okay, so then this goes into Pool 2, another 2-1 or 1-2 for GT. But I didn't watch the series openly. This was not one I got to, but I was told it was really scrappy. Is this true, STL?
I think the first game was very clean from us. We got a lead bot lane. We did not throw it. That's it.
Jinx Lulu merchant. Jinx merchant.
That's simple.
Jinx Lulu. I'm surrounded by Jinx merchants. I'm adding into the rules Jinx is banned next tournament.
Hey, my first win against in the first series against 2 was on Twitch, so I'm not a Jinx merchant. That is factually incorrect.
I'm not giving it away for one game. A broken clock's right twice a day.
Right.
Okay.
I do it. Hexplate mentioned, by the way. Nocturne's in this game. We see experimental Hexplate. That item's never built.
Yeah.
It is a crazy 8-30 performance, a complete shutout. Is this Summit Admin's main roster or close to it?
No, Riddy was not in this game.
Oh, huh?
But Riddy was not in this game, but it was Gargoomba top.
Okay, the gods
it's
get
pretty much
the
their
top
main
line.
roster, except it's bouncy instead of ready.
Okay.
Oh, and I think Sexy Shawarma may be the main support. Can't remember.
I think Brissy is.
It's close.
The main support.
If Brizzy isn't higher elo, no offense to Sexy Shawarma, don't know anything about them. They just know Brizzy so much better, right? That they just have this synergy. And so
I believe Brizzy is higher elo. But
this is Piss Stomp 15-2 Jinx game. Jinx merchants get their Jinx, like it's whatever. But then we go into this game 2, and I'm seeing Summit Admins build the Summit here with the gold graph. So walk me through what happened in this game.
Lulu was banned.
Yeah, Lulu was banned. No, actually, the Cogmilio I think was fine. What happened this game? I mean, our Akali was could not play into the Karma, and he was a little bit mental gapped, which is okay. You know, he was getting tilted. It's a hard lane. That's fair enough. We told him we would have rather him played Cassante this game than Akali, and I think it would have been better. But pretty much all that happened this game. Oh no, actually, I remember. Riddy invaded us like level 2.
Oh, so Riddy subs himself in.
Yes, Riddy is on Briar this game. And we had their mid laner had first move, so they invaded us level 2. And it was just like a cheesy whatever kind of thing. So then we came around and invaded them on Raptors, killed Riddy, and then Viego picked up the Briar and ran under tower and killed himself to the Karma.
GG. That is a GG moment.
And it was unfortunate. And then the Aatrox this game went so crazy. He was like solo diving Malphite at like level 7.
Do you know that's a counter matchup for Aatrox? You know, Malphite is meant to beat Aatrox. I'm actually pretty confident that my Malphite could beat Gargoomba's Aatrox.
I'm aware. It was an unfortunate game. I won't lie. And no Kessler.
Yeah.
So
mid
GG
mid lane.
I think we could have won this game, but we made a couple large errors with the Viego, and the top lane matchup was too difficult for us. So it is what it is.
And this is an Adam X game and not a CC Swift game.
That's correct.
Okay. And then this third game, it definitely doesn't look as drastic as we roll back either of these two games. You can see the peaks pretty hard. I mean, it is a Summon Admin's hard win, but this is the game that I was told was scrappy. I was told that there was a game y'all had that, like, they were hard winning, and then you get a crazy team fight, whether it was like a full ace.
It would have been game 2.
Okay, never mind then. I take it back. This
game. We were having a rough situation top lane in this game as well. I believe Adam X was getting dove pretty early in the game again, and then we did have a pretty crazy team fight win this game actually.
Okay, maybe that's what it is then.
But it was only one.
It's probably
it was only one time
rebound here.
Yeah, it only happened once, and then after that they just played out the game cleanly. Didn't really give us anything to work with, and it was just too hard for us to do anything into them. So well played into them.
I swear this Viego champ is bait right now. I feel like the only person with a positive win rate right now is got to be TV. Like every time I see this champ, it is losing.
I believe we have a positive win rate with it. I mean, every time Elias gets it, he pops off super hard. Even this game, you can see he's 6-2. The only positive person on our team, he's trying to like 1v9 drag us over the finish line. But
I definitely think it's being overpicked, though. I think some players are really good at it and it's deserved, but I think others not as much. Dude, it's pretty rough.
High key, I think that if you have a bad top laner, myself included, I actually do attribute at least 5% of TV's success to me. If you have a bad top laner, you should tell your top laner, if you have Viego jungle, your job is to int everything you have to get one reset. Because that's really all it takes. And a lot of these top lane picks are, like Set is a really great example. You blow your load right at the start. If you're on a squishy, like you ult on a squishy or something like that, just to force the reset, you've done it. You've used everything, so you're just useless. Go ahead and go to the gray screen. Trust your Viego can play it out. And I think if you can take that to Adamax and tell him that, he'll still get abused top lane, but there's nothing that can really stop, which I guess he's Cho'Gath here. It's not necessarily your best pick. But,
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong per se, and I think he was doing that, and so was Angel of Paper on the Galio, just trying to die to get the Viego a reset, and I was too, even in some of these fights. But it was just too much. We should not have blind picked Cho'Gath. That's on me again, because their top laner had last pick on red side, and Cho'Gath is just not a safe enough champion to blind.
Yeah.
So
very, very abusable top lane.
It is what it is.
The benefit to a Cho'Gath, though, I don't necessarily think it was bad into this comp. Maybe as a full team because you're playing your higher point roster. Cho'Gath will always infinitely scale into the game, right? Like this R plus smite on any objective makes him always useful. I think it's just one of those. I think it's an unfortunate top lane pick that says my bad player has to get to 30 minutes before he's useful, which is weird to say for a top laner. But
yeah, I think it's also just too abusable in lane. Like the Yone into it. I mean, the Yone, it doesn't show it here with like his items or his score or whatever. He was so strong this game. He was probably for the majority of this game, he was the strongest person on their team, and we could not deal with him in side lane.
Yeah, Yone is among my least favorite top laners because even if you beat Yone, like the 0-10 power spike exists for him as well, which if you're not beating him, he's scaling so fucking well. But at the moment he finishes Blade of the Rune King, or really just has the pickaxe, in my opinion, he's really tough to beat. He has so much maneuverability, so much just boom like that damage. And I get it, is all I'm saying. I get it, Noah, if you're watching. I get your problem. I get it. I understand.
His trading better cannot be fun in top lane with his E. That's got to be awful.
It can, and then he's so safe with EQ too. Like you can dodge anything with the E, like a set W, and then either knock up and walk away or just Q away. It's a ridiculous champion top lane, honestly. That said, we're gonna move to the next series, which is 2 versus MBR, which I think that this series was arguably the most fun series for me to watch this week. I think I'm the one who streamed this one. I might be trolling, but
You did.
Ricardo locks his Heimerdinger support, and if you watch me in draft, I'm like, this game is gonna go crazy, and it does, because you can't tell, because like if you look now, you have like a 0-7 Yone and 0-7 Yasuo, which is like, that's bad. Earthen and Ally should not be performing that bad. But if you watch the game back, this bot lane for MBR is running it at maximum speed, and it's not really Majin. It's really Ricardo, that even though you have these two 0-7 picks, MBR was always so weak because Ricardo could not run it down faster if he tried. And I talked to him after the game, and he was like, yeah, I don't really care that I ran it down. I was pretty confident we were going to win this series. And I couldn't help but laugh the whole time. It was really, really fun to watch.
I mean, I think Ricardo's Heimerdinger is always a fun watch, no matter what. He's either sprinting it or he's just doing absolute shenanigans. It's definitely a pick.
It's also Gumby Power gets to MBR. Their flex potential is ridiculous just because of how good Gumby is. Like, if OSHA Inspector, Gumby, and Yi-Yo-Yate are all in the game, your bans are useless. You are effectively choosing who you want to be in the mid lane, which OSHA Inspector is never really going to contest you for that mid lane pick, but he's just so good at filling everything else that it's, you trip ban Gumby, you're going against Yi-Yo, Yates, and Nivea. If you ban the Yi-Yo, Yates, and Nivea, one of Gumby's best mid laners is going to get through. Either which way your mid lane's cooked, they are going to be monstrous in finals, even if they have to run an Iron player.
I mean, even Majin's also a really good flex player. Like, there's a lot of potential for moving around
Yeet
there.
and OSHA are both, like, competent in bot lane as well. They can both play, well, Yi-Yo can play mages bot, and OSHA can play support, or they can put OSHA on marksman, and Yi-Yo can play mages and support. So it's very hard to read them in draft if they have these three players in. So they're definitely probably the scariest team going into playoffs, I would say.
And I
definitely in scouting.
It's even more ridiculous when you throw in Ricardo as well, just because you already have two very good mid laners vying for that slot, whoever you choose to ban out's there. And then Gumby, Ricardo, OSHA flexing jungle is also like, your bans are to pick who go to that role, but you're giving them their best champion. And you can see it in this series. Like, if you look at the bans, here they're choosing to ban Jinx because she's overpowered, but Ricardo, Zac, and Gumby's Talon. So you get Yi-Yo on his best champion. You get Gumby on literally whatever jungler he wants. And Ricardo, he runs it down with the Heimerdinger, but he's actually surprisingly good at that pick. And then the second series, they rebound the bans, and they ban Talon because Gumby's Talon has to be banned. They ban his Gwen because he was monstrous game one. And then they ban his Echo because he can flex that mid or jungle. And then you just get a game where you have Ricardo, Zac, his best champion. You have Yi-Yo on a Nivea. Somehow Gumby Power isn't running it down in these games with Rengar, even though I see him do it on stream. And then you have Xenix get full counter topside because they're using all their counter picks to beat these three players. And Xenix just piss stomps on Harbinger the whole game on his one trick, which the elo discrepancy there is very, very big, and it is a huge Garen matchup. But Xenix just played it crazy because he gets to do whatever he wants because you can't ban him out. You can't ban anyone out on this team, man. It's honestly, I do think that they are in contention to win the whole tournament the more I watch them.
I agree. And I want to glaze Xenix for just a minute. Last tournament, or not the Fearless one, but the first tournament that I played in, I was on his team on WWPQ. Rest in peace. We would love PP. But Xenix was a very good top laner back then at getting a lead in top lane and then joining team fights. But he could not for the life of him play side lane. I think he's fixed that now. I think he's a more complete top laner and just a better player overall. And I think he's been performing very well this tournament.
I agree. And I don't know if it's because he's on a team that he really, really vibes with, or if Gumby might have to do something with it. But everything you just said is not only true, it's like Xenix is on 110%. I think he is equivalent to Top Tower in my mind of the level of progression. Like, both of these players have shot up in skill out of seemingly nowhere. Because if you look at like their ranked performance, their solo queue, their customs games, it's not like in those games they're particularly doing anything you wouldn't expect them to be able to do. Then they load into these tournament games, and it's like you just slam through. And again, I can't stress enough, Harbinger is like a platinum peaker who is hard stuck gold right now. So the elo discrepancy is very, very high. Colby, I don't think you did bad. But when you watch this game back, Xenix knew he was winning literally the moment the game locked in. And he played so undeniably confident that he was a permanent threat throughout the whole series that never got addressed.
Yep. He's also probably not ever receiving bans because of the other players on his team who are flexing around so much that, you can't even ban any of his champions. So,
yeah, I don't know who MBR plans to bench when they have to play their Iron player, but I think like dropping, no offense to Ricardo's support and putting in my wife Isabel is such a stronger team than dropping Xenix and putting in Tom Tua. No offense to anyone involved, but Xenix, Gumby, OSHA Inspector, and then whoever they want to put forth out of their best, or Yeet, excuse me, that's who I'm looking for. Those four, regardless of their fifth, can contend with any team in the tournament. Does not matter if it's best roster or not. I would not be surprised if they beat any of them. It's actually, they're insane.
I will say we're the only team that's taken a game off their best roster. So
True.
Somebody could do it.
It is possible, but they lost the series.
It is possible.
We
did lose the series. That's true.
That's enough said about these two. We go into the Luyten must by law glaze his Pookie Bear series, which is V8 versus SI. I will start by saying, openly, TV, I was actually very disappointed in us this series. We were hand over fist winning this game, and we give them an ace. You can't see it in the goal graph. It's that little dip right there at like the 30-minute mark. Why are we not hitting Nexus, team? TV, you shouldn't be glazed if we're winning this hard and we give up 5 kills for none and don't take Nexus. But someone had to counter whatever Luyten's about to give. I don't even know if Luyten's going to glaze them, but I had to counter it ahead of time.
I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier, where I think TV's the only one that has been. I mean, apparently GT's jungler has been playing it well, but I think TV's Viego has been by far the best. And he absolutely ran this entire game, honestly. Geeky obviously supported him pretty well, but I think this entire game was just TV.
Yeah,
I think.
Or go ahead, STL, go ahead.
Yeah, I think V8, this series in particular, although your first series this weekend as well had similar elements of this, but watching this made me think you guys, or V8, they're a team that will not lose to teams that are better than them because they play the correct way to play League of Legends. Where you start with a slow open, try to get objectives, try to get kills on winning fights, just small advantages and accrue to the point that you can make a big play and make the game winning play. And that's why I think V8 is where they're at, because they beat every team that's worse than them, and they lose to the teams that are better than them because you don't really have that chaotic element on your team who can like throw a wrench in the works of whatever the enemy team's cooking up.
No, I think that's a really valid assessment. The only caveat I give you is I argue V8 is, and this is horrible to say, the most emotionally driven team in the entire tournament. This series, no glaze to V8, no glaze. I knew we were going to TO. I said this the last time that we played SI as well. TV just unlocks himself as a player when he is against people that he thinks he is better than, who argue they're worse than him. And that's particularly David Edge. David Edge isn't even in jungle in this series, but they have a long-standing rivalry that goes back long tournaments ago, and it just makes TV play like a freak. 13-2 on the Viego. He goes 6-1 on the Xin Zhao. This TV, if we could have every game, I genuinely, no glaze, think we would win the entire tournament. It is just that it requires him to be so unbelievably spite-driven that we can't... If he generated that much hate for one person on everyone's team, he would die. His cortisol levels would be too high. And I do agree with you. I think that's the only way we get this, like, monkey with the other team, fuck them up on what they want to do, even if they're ahead. And it is when TV's engines are running at full throttle.
Yeah, 2 points on that. One, I hated on TV. I told him he was washed and whatnot in his DMs before the series just for that reason. I knew he would lock in. But also, back to the point of you guys not losing to teams below you and whatnot, you do actually have the most games total of teams, which means you go to game threes a lot. And you also, like, just Saturday lost to MDFC that one game. So I think you also just lose random games that you shouldn't, or you're winning random games as well. I'm not sure which of the two it is, but you definitely bounce back and forth a lot.
I have to humble myself to say, I think if you watch back our games where you have close to our starting roster, i.e. not me, you have Agu in top, Ping Spam, and then TV, I think we're way more consistent. I think that's going to be pretty much every series we 2-0, or a lot of our upset series. I think that when you look, like if you look at us versus MDFC this series, I think I'm such a noticeable downgrade for our team that even when we like win handily, a lot of times it's because the enemy team misplayed and we're able to abuse it. And if you just look at the very next game, they just didn't misplay as much. We didn't get to be as abusive. And with a losing top lane, we just get absolutely flattened. And I lose top lane all the time. And I really think if you look back with any series where it's close to main roster, really just our top laner, our jungler, and our ADC, I think we're in contention to beat really any team. Not necessarily in these clean 2-0s, but we lose a lot of games because the overwhelming majority of our players that we have played are our higher point players. Agu hasn't really been around. Ping Spam was out for the first, I think it was 2 weeks of the tournament. And we've made a lot happen playing worse players.
Well, so my point, you have played 7 game threes. NS and GF alone, since you're close to us in seeding, combined are 5. So you guys are just going to game threes a lot in both directions, which is just, it's an interesting note. And it's why you guys aren't second place as well. Otherwise you would be, I think.
It's also, you'll notice this as well. I challenge you to go look back at it, viewer, and Luyten and STL. Any game we smash game 1, there's like a 90% odds we get absolutely flattened game 2. Yeah. I don't think we ever mental reset, and we just load in assuming we're still like 5 item advantage over our opponent laner, and just get destroyed. But this game,
happens.
It's like, I do want to give flowers to Pyrosis. His Zoe was monstrous. Put Bubbles in a coffin this entire series. Like, this, I think it was a matchup where we got to see the gold side of Bubbles instead of the part that I believe is Emerald. But it just wasn't enough. You cannot beat TV when he's firing on all 8 cylinders. Ayo. Okay, yeah, we'll just go to the next one. I'm sorry, guys. Wizards of Wahoo, or go ahead, STL. I'm sorry, I've made a bad joke.
That's it. I was just gonna let it sit.
Yeah, I didn't want you guys. I thought y'all would give me something. Wizards of Wahoo versus AWB, crazy game, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, Aatrox is a fun.
I was about to say, did you see this? Did you see definitive proof that Aatrox is an elo inflating champion? You cannot lose on it. Oh gosh. Knocked my hands off. These players, by the way, Yoshi is like, I think he's like D3, D2 peak, and Zeotal, great player, Masters peak. There is no discrepancy, I think, between these players that should make Yoshi go 0-9-0. Literally only have a negative impact on the game.
Yeah, 0 KP is rough, but I mean, 5 kills on the team. That's just a rough game.
It just looks like a rough game.
Camille, I don't know, man. I disagree. I'm disappointed, is all I'll say. And Zeotal played it phenomenally. If we're talking about like rookies or like people first seasons, Zeotal has been in previous tournaments, got drafted, and didn't show up to his team. So this is his first tournament actually playing. And he's kind of been killer, especially getting off his OTPs and whatnot, or not his OTPs, but his mains. And I think he's been a breath of fresh air for Wizards of Wahoo, especially since, I don't know, week 4, they've been turbo downhill. You can't see me, but I'm doing a downhill motion. And Wizards of Wahoo's only winning lane since they've started just perma losing has been Zeotal in every series. And he does it here. He also, even in this AWB win, this is a horrible matchup for Aatrox. I don't want y'all to think he's a balanced champion. He still was more useful in this series, especially if you watch it back. The Aatrox was scary, but his entire team's losing around the entire map, and he couldn't come online. And then also to bounce it into Game 3 just real quick, I'll go back with them as well. But you go into this series, and the Darius is just like, it's his game. And Darius doesn't even necessarily beat Renekton. I do think it's a Darius-sided matchup, but that's not because of the early game lane. Renekton still gets to bully you as much as you want in that early game phase because he has the heal to go through your passive poke. And it just doesn't matter. Like, they're kind of curb stomping. Even though AWB is winning, or excuse me, AWB wins a game, Zeotal was online, locked in. And I think he pretty much 1v9s every game.
Do note the game 2 and 3 was Promic, not Yoshi.
Oh man.
If that changes your like rank opinion or anything. Yeah,
no,
fair.
I'll say it live, Promic is better than Yoshi.
I think they're very comparable regardless. But I watched WoW's VOD against us, and I was honestly impressed with their team vibes. KitKat is essentially a team manager at this point, just keeping the vibes up, helping draft and all that. And for supposedly being downhill and crashing out and everything, they're very chill, and I think that team is doing more than okay, clearly.
I more so mean their performance.
I'm not saying you're saying that. Yeah,
I don't. Emotionally, they can be doing great, but this is their first win in a while, right?
No, I think they won one last week as well.
Let me go look. I'm scrolling up live. They definitely lost to you guys.
They beat Nova on last Sunday.
Oh, they did.
2-0 even.
Yeah.
Never mind. Maybe I was just my mental's broken as we approach.
I do have concerns that Death might be benched, and I think that is an objective downgrade mechanically for the team, to the point that it makes their playoff roster a bit concerning for me, but I think they definitely have some potential to work something out.
I think this will be a continual weakness of Deathmarch. He's been around for a while. He's been banned a few times. That guy's horrible for mental. Phenomenal player. Great player. Horrific for mental. Not a good yapper, openly. Just because you yap, and you yap a lot, doesn't mean you're good at yapping. I silence that guy every time we talk. But yeah, no offense to Deathmarch. I think he's worth his PV. If you are a player who thinks you can genuinely not care about mental debuffs that a player... If you don't believe vibes affects the game, is what I'm saying, since some people don't. Draft Deathmarch. He is ridiculously good for his PV. But I would not be surprised if WoW player evals come out and are like, he's kind of tough to have around. No offense, Deathmarch.
He does kind of sprint it if you're in a losing state, I will say. But, I think if he's in a winning state, he is incredibly good.
Yeah, and then from here into Leg versus Lacuna Matata. Lacuna wants to say that Pool 2 is stronger than Pool 1, and it's just not. And yeah, he clutches out a 2-1 against a team that he is objectively stronger than, because he's, Pool 2, Seed 3. I think this is Nico shows up to these games wanting to absolutely flatten Owen because they are roommates. And I don't think Nico played close to Owen's level. Like, if you look at Owen in these games versus Nico
sprinted this game. It was really bad. Top tower was very far ahead early game versus Owen. He was destroying him in lane, actually. He was like 4-1 or 4-0 on the Kled. And then the Mel was getting fed off of Nico, and it was basically like whose team can show up first. And Lacuna Matata woke up first, and Nico never woke up. So that was all there was for this game.
Yeah, I'm noticing that as a consistent thread for Nico, and then you jump into the second game where again it's these crazy big PV charts. Nico still never comes alive despite playing arguably his best champion right now. I don't know if it's because Nico got elo inflated to Grandmaster, or he doesn't care about GCS because he doesn't like his team or anything, but like, man, ban for ban, I'd put Hamea higher than him, and Hamea's a D4 peak.
That brother's stuck in plat.
Yeah.
I think Bubbles has performed better than Nico this tournament. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this to flame Nico if you watch this back. I expected more. And I've seen him play still at these higher GM levels in other tournaments. Like, I've seen him play against Gumby Power, of all people, and do well in lane. And then here he shows up against Lacuna Matata's mid laner, who is Acid Step D4, maybe D3 peak, OTP, and, like, just get gapped. Like, he never even awakens. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There isn't much to say. Lacuna Matata smacked a team that has a 1.5% chance of advancing to finals. So I'm going to move us into the last series as we hit the hour 36 minute of PP versus FF, which is a 2-0 forfeit. Again, this definitely makes it the 9 victory points in 6 games.
I believe so. They have forfeit themselves once, but
yes. They've had 3 teams forfeit to them.
Yeah.
They have not played much League of Legends recently.
Yeah, if you take this, like, that's 9 victory points. If you knock those 9 free victory points off, which you can argue, they probably do 2-0 FF. No offense to FF. But It's just the fact that the games didn't happen. You knock those off, you get a team that has 21 points, is tied with the other 2, and also you don't get them giving away games to their lower elo players. I think Luyten brought this up in chat today. Like, a lot of PP games are playing among their best players because their lower elo players just got 3 free series. And maybe that's something we need to look at as a rules team for future tournaments. I actually don't think it's necessarily that bad. But it is. They have won because they get to play their best players more often because their series with their worst players, they can just throw against teams giving it up to them. And I would argue, or go ahead, Luyten.
It's also, this one they probably would have 2-0'd, but the other 2 were against Summit and GT, who are second and
those were the 2 that
strong teams.
I mean, let's say both of those series go 2-1 for PP, then they're down 2 points at least, and we're both up a point each. So,
brings it within 4 points for Summit at least. Yeah.
It would take them from being 100% locked in as first seed to like 70%, which is still likely that they're first seed, but that 30% is ridiculously significant. So,
and that's assuming they don't lose to GT or Summit admins in one of those series.
And if there's a bot lane that can contend with them, it is Dumpling STL. I'll put it out there. GT support till the day I die. But
they did lose to Summit the first time as well. So
from there, that's the full recap of games this week. We go into final standings prior to the final week of games. So
got there.
We get to talk about PP a bit there, and I think Pool 2 is controlled a lot by FFs. Like, it is the pool that has the most because it has FF, and then also other teams have FF'd. And I think that, like, I think you said it best with GT. GT being in 5th right now, I unironically believe is because of them even FFing one series. Because then you have to play your lower elo players more representatively often because you get a whole series off your best players. And I don't know. I even think it's true of SMA. Pool 2 very controlled by FFs is the greater thing I'm trying to say.
Even then, it's still so close as well. It is interesting to see where both groups have ended up, and like everybody's fighting for 2nd to 6th in Pool 2, and then Pool 1 is a bit more fighting for certain positions. Like, I think NS and GF are fighting for 1st. I think V8 and AWB are fighting for 3rd, and so on.
Yeah. It's.
I will say also, 2 has had either 3 or 4 teams FF into them.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's another, like, imagine if they lose half of those series, they're tied with Leg, and then it's more, and then those points also go to other teams, so it's a better spread. But I think there have been too many FFs in Pool 2 to say what team is substantially better than the other or not.
2 did have 3 FFs into them. To their credit, it is both leg and FF. So maybe they would have had it anyways, but
no offense to 2, great team, great players. I think leg specifically, coin flip on those matches, and I think FF is probably like 75-25, but I think the rest of pool 2 FF is like 99 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on the standings for pool 2 as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
who
is at what position in that group. It's hard to say.
I will say this openly. Like, I think V8 can contend against any of the teams. I'm not necessarily worried. But, like, I would, as it stands right now, we're pool 3. We're going against, or we're seed 3. We would go against Summon Admins. Like, I don't necessarily think Summon Admins, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to jinx myself. Would be pool 2 or C2 in pool 1. You know, and I think they're just weaker, I guess is what I'm saying. STL, which pool do you think is stronger as a pool 2 representative?
I think there are a higher number of strong teams in pool 1, but I think the top 3 teams from pool 2 are going to be scary in playoffs. I think PP, MBR, and GT with their best rosters are definitely people that you have to be scared of if you match up with them in playoffs.
I think that's important. When you said top 3 there, I thought you meant PP, SMA, and Lacuna Matata. And I was like, I'm sorry. No. Summon Admins might be scary, but not Lacuna Matata.
I meant the 3 best teams from that pool.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
I think pool 2 definitely gets a buff in playoffs from some teams.
I agree.
And one interesting little note, SMA V8 would be the highest points upper bracket matchup, and it's not close.
Highest point?
Yes.
That's
your
crazy.
best rosters are the highest points, except for 2, who is over 100.
That is crazy. I would love to see TV versus Riddy. I would rather 100 times out of 100 play Lacuna Matata than Summon Admins, but if we have to play, I'm happy to see it. And we have an important segment this week, which is actually going over playoff likelihood going into the final weekend of games. So naturally, after the final weekend, everything will be locked. So this is just to showcase your potential chances of getting in. It is important to note that these odds are calculated purely off match results. It does not include tiebreakers. Okay, so
in that note, I assume the higher you are alphabetically, the better your odds are most likely.
What?
I think if GF and V8 were tied, I'm going to assume with how it was created, GF would win that tiebreaker, even though it might not actually be
you're talking about in the sheet specifically. Okay,
yes,
I was about to say, Luyten, what type of tournament we would be if
we're alphabetically tiebreaking. Everybody's team is now AAA.
And so I would allot, if I had to ballpark a guess, maybe 1 to 2% chance variance on your numbers. If it's 0, it's 0 is really the important part to know. So like that is how we can know MDFC is mathematically locked out of finals. That is how we can know FF is guaranteed the final seed, because those don't vary. Just look at your numbers and how they're varying. And I think this is where you can see like a lot of the strength of pool 1. Like I think we are very scrappy. I think any team can play against any team in pool 1, but it's also like our schedule is pretty locked in comparison to any team in pool 2 really having a chance, not a high chance, even their worst teams. Like of the bottom 3 teams in the whole tournament, according to the Math Geeky put together, you have FF and you have Leg. And Leg still has a chance. It's ridiculously low, but that team is the worst in the tournament and still has a chance against these other teams, right? I don't know. Are any of these surprising to you guys? Any commentary?
I think it's kind of insane that NS could get 4th. I didn't think that would be possible. I mean, it is practically impossible.
It is kind of funny, but
it would be impressive.
It is important to note the other thing. I guess I should say this as well, even though I think it's obvious. 100% don't vary either as well. Your absolute 0 and 100% are guaranteed. PP is locked in at number 1. Guaranteed no matter what, because they've already got 28. If either team gets 6 points on the weekend, all of them are at 21. So it's just guaranteed. I do find it interesting. My biggest takeaway is, according to math, numbers, the coin flip on 07 qualifying. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, but
I think that plus WoW being so locked into 5th is kind of surprising.
Man, I don't know. I think they overhyped themselves.
Well, no, not like their placement, but I'm just surprised it's that high of a percentage.
Oh,
I'm surprised to see that many above 60%.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I do love the coin flip though. That matchup on Sunday is going to be great.
It really does come down to, and I was nervous. I'll say this. I think we're going to stream it. I'm not 100% locked because it's almost like I don't want the stream to affect the outcome of the game. Like if anyone would get nervous about being on stream or it would affect their mental, but it's also like it's cinema, man. It's cinema.
Yeah, I think you have to. No other match is going to be nearly as important as that one.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably the only time we'll get a matchup that objectively decides playoff potentials. But if you want to take a chance to screenshot this, utilize it. Again, allow some variance in numbers that aren't 0 to 100%, or 0 or 100%, excuse me. But everything is pretty likely. We're starting to see how things shake up. We do have one more week. I think this makes me so happy with our format, by the way. The level of variance and where teams can go, the fact that like who will be knocked out in Pool 1 is still in contention to the literal last day of games, makes me very, very happy. I'm very, very overwhelmingly supportive of the format we have.
It's always good when every match does matter. There will probably be a couple last matches that won't matter as much, but you can't argue with this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
STL, have you enjoyed it? Because I talk to Luyten about it all the time, but you Pog?
Yeah, I like the format.
Pog. Okay. That's all I needed to know. STL, this is now your segment. As I say every week, we give our guests the ability to power rank all of their teams, and I do think you might have the craziest list so far. Please take time to explain what your tiers mean, if left to right have value, and then why you put the teams there, of course.
Okay, left to right does have value. The tiers, I mean, I guess S and A are all teams that could contend to win the whole thing, and then B would be teams that can play spoiler to the S and A tier teams. And then everybody else below, I don't think has a particularly great chance to go anywhere in playoffs. And then FF is an FF tier. And Glue Factory, after watching their games this week, and I went back and watched their last week games as well, I think they're the best team in the tournament right now. I think they have the best mid laner in the tournament right now, best performing anyway. That team is super scary, and the thing that impressed me the most was the way that they intentionally set up their objectives and move around the map. They always have their side lanes fixed, so they're never, even if they lose a fight, they're not in a bad spot necessarily after that. So that team has been super impressive for me. Poro Pounders, I think their best roster is 3 master players and a D1, so or higher than master for 2 of them. So that team is obviously very scary as well. GT, 3 master and a D1 as well. Peak players, I think we have a pretty good shot to win the whole thing as well. MBR, I just put a little bit lower because in series, they do have to play Iron players, I believe, if they want to play Gumby in all their games. So it's a trade-off. It's not a guaranteed loss if you have an Iron player, but against the teams above them, it might as well be, And then NS, I think they won a lot of their early games before they had to put in their lower PV players, and now that they are having to put them in, they're looking a little bit weaker. They're looking like they can bleed again, even losing to some teams that I would consider substantially worse than them. So that's my top 5 anyway. And then all the other teams, all the B tier teams, like I said, I think are playing spoiler in playoffs. So you can get a lucky series victory or something like that. Okay. And I wouldn't be super surprised to see any of those teams make it to finals, aside from maybe WoW. But Summit Admins, V8, and AWB, I think, could all make finals, given the right bracket. So that's pretty much it.
I ask this every week for the rosters because pretty much everyone puts 2 MDFC leg and FF bottom 4, which then puts them in a situation where you don't have the 2 teams that would be eliminated from pool 1 kind of predetermined by your lower tiers. You have the benefit of math, unlike every other guess, but if you had to guess the bottom 2 teams for pool 1, what would your prediction be?
MDFC and SI. That's what I had at the start of the tournament with my original tier list. So.
Oh, okay. So you're an 07 believer. My man.
Yep. I'm an 07 believer.
I think it would be cinema if they make it. I actually, with your explanation, I do like it. I actually think my only point of contention is V8 should be higher because I think for some reason I think people think I'm gonna start myself over Agu, and I think a lot of people factor that into their evaluation. He's shaking his head. No, he didn't. He's not even gonna give me a crumb of V8 could be A tier.
Nope, I did not. I did not think that's not why I put you guys there. I put you guys there because I think every team above you has your guys' top side can contend for sure, but I think your bot lane is weaker than every team above you, just because of your supports.
Okay.
So your AD carry is obviously very good, but I think AD carry is not really the one that leads in the lane just by like how the game works. So I think every team above you has an edge there, and that's been the strongest and like most important area of the map this tournament for generating wins for the most part. So that's why I put you guys there.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. Luyten, you got anything?
No, I got glazed enough. I can't say much more.
Yeah, this will be my least favorite episode of Running the Gauntlet to date. And then,
I'm pretty happy with it.
And from there, we roll into the classic WWPQ gambling section. I hope he actually uses them for the bets this week. Minor note, they finally got paid out for 07's 2 wins of last 4, so I don't have to shave my head. They were reminding me of that. But we're going to start naturally. We're going to do this STL since he's top, me, and then Luyten. So does Wasal perform on 200 ping?
This was last week's.
This was last week's?
Yeah, and he didn't play. So.
Oh, well, I mean, we can replay it, right? Because he has to play.
Yeah, we could.
We've already voiced ours. STL, what's your determination? Do you think he will?
What role does Wasal play?
He's a mid player.
Mid? I think mid is too hard to perform on 200 ping. I'm going to say no.
Okay, well, for the rest of you, refer back to me and Luyten's comments last week. I am going to say he does, by the way, because I'm an 07 believer. Wasal will drop a pentakill.
Crazy.
I think it's too hard to micro on 200 ping, but we'll see. I'm excited to watch.
Well, then we get into how many teams will troll their last match, assuming it does not matter. And this is like, we're not talking like troll like they just play bad. We're talking about actively, intentionally play horrible things because it doesn't matter. STL, your prediction out of 16.
Out of 16
for the 16 teams.
I'll say 8 are going to troll their last game.
50%? I hope not. I want them to take this.
I think that's about how many people it matters for the last match.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit more than that.
Okay. Yeah, unless, I mean, some teams might be super worried about their playoff berth if they're like top 4. But like MBR versus GT, no, that's not the last match. Oh, so never mind. But like SIO7, those guys aren't gonna troll, you know?
Yeah.
So there's some I think that are guaranteed not to. So I'm gonna say 8.
Okay, I'm gonna cut you in half. I'm gonna say 4. I think the only teams that are gonna troll are the teams most likely to be eliminated in the first place. So like MDFC and FF for certain. Actually, no, I'm gonna change it just to those 2. I'll go 3 to hedge my bets. 3 teams to hedge my bets.
Man, you ruined mine. I was gonna go 6.
Dude, that's
Meet
crazy.
In the middle, but I'll stick with 5. I think right now there's 4 teams that are pretty locked in with MDFC, like FF and PP. But I think by Sunday there will be a couple more teams that it's worth considering another team doing it. Plus, some teams might not. Maybe they try to make a team get a worse position. I can't think of the wording for that, but
They play
maybe
sound.
like worse enough. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I hope they do. It would
Heartbreakers or whatever.
make me kind of sad if they do troll.
So I'll go with 5 though.
Okay, 5. And then who gets first in Group 1, second in Group 2? STL, starting with you, your official predictions.
First in Group 1 is going to be Glue Factory. Second in Group 2 is going to be Group Therapy.
Oh, okay. You believe you're going to rebound the additional points. That's... Oh, man. You're going to test me live on show. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do math. Or I'm gonna do research for mine.
Well, I'll go in the meantime then. I think we do get first. We only need one more net point over NS, and I think we get the tiebreaker instantly. So I think that's doable with our schedules. And then I think Summit gets second purely off of playing FF next week, and then also beating down Lacuna Matata. He's kind of securing themselves.
Okay, my official prediction, and this is not to upset Luyten, looking at the games that y'all have left to play, I am giving Pool 1, Seed 1 to Nova Chrysalis.
Okay, I was about to say, if it's V8, that might be crazy.
No, I do.
But no, that's not too upsetting.
I do think 07 2-0s you guys. That unironically, that's a genuine belief I have. And I think NS will 2-0 AWB. And then you go into your last week match, which I think we're going to 2-0 Nova Chrysalis, which will balance you out for your 0-2 last week. But I do not think that you guys will 2-0 AWB. I think there's a chance they beat you openly. Because I think AWB does not have their best roster Saturday, but does Sunday.
Isn't Alun out the entire week?
I thought Alun was just out Saturday.
He said I guess he said 3 weeks. I don't know. I thought more players were needed to be played, but no.
No,
I think that's fair.
I think, and then Group 2, I
think it's a coin flip for a lot of these anyway. So
I'm a GT believer. I'm gonna put GT at second place in Group 2. They're gonna dominate it. They're gonna see the rebound of a century. Guys, do not count them out. They are the best team in Pool 2. They just didn't get 9 points of free wins into them.
Hey, by the way, we've only played our best roster in one single series, and it was versus MBR.
And it was MBR's best roster.
Played their best roster, and we're the only team that took a game off of them. So
true.
And
I think we will get to see a lot of the actual strength of PP Sunday. If MBR plays their best roster, we'll actually get the comparison between GT and PP. I don't know if their games work out for it, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth scouting each other at that point. I think you play seriously at that point.
And that will do it for GCS Week 6 recap. We're going to be right at 2 hours. I want to say I'm actually very excited for running the Gauntlet next week as well, because we'll get to do Luyten our bracket predictions, hopefully, if you're down.
I'm going to have fun with that.
Because we'll have the full seed in complement for it. Is there anything you guys want to roll out the red carpet, specifically for STL, but Luyten as well? STL, anything you want to say to the people?
Not really. Believe in group therapy, or don't. I don't care. We'll see you in the finals.
Dude, he's an ambivalent king. He's a misanthropic. He doesn't care about anything. Luyten, anything you want to say?
I think I'll be dropping an absolute stats and graph bomb in the next episode as well, so look forward to that.
I'm very excited for that. Only other thing, which Luyten stopped me if I shouldn't say this, be on the lookouts for our official MVP vote, Rookie of the Year vote, or Rookie of the Season, I guess.
Just those two.
And then PV Powerhouse. So we will be internally, I'll just openly describe the process. Internally, we will take some votes on performance-based and then also like community engagement, involvement and stuff to give you a narrowed list for MVP, most valued player for their team, Rookie of the Season, specifically an award targeted for people's first season in GCS/VLN, because we did run tournaments. This is our first season with the rebrand, but you get it. And then PV Powerhouse is an award specifically dedicated to high PV players who have been performing insanely well. We'll put up a vote for that.
Much. Roughly 30, 35 and above.
Yeah, 30.
We'll have to figure that out later.
That will work for me. So then there will be a vote for all of you to vote for to get your opinion in on who deserves it. And then hopefully we can announce it as a content piece sometime next week after the vote. Would that work, Luyten?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode, even though we've went long. I'm excited to see how everything plays out. GCS on top. GCS 2025, 2026. GCS a million years. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.